Wavect, the web-free software company that understands what you want.
Hey guys, this is Kevin from Wavect, a web-free software agency from Austria. And today I want to share with you my strategy or my method that works really well for me on sticking to my goals, committing to things that I say I want to do. And yeah, it works for me. Everyone is different. So please let me know if that strategy works for you as well, or if not, why you think so, or what works really well for you. I always love to learn something new as well. So, just to give you some context of what I mean with that, I'm going to the gym since I'm 15 years old. I had kind of not a break, but my biggest uh, downturn in terms of muscle mass between 2018 and 2023, 2022 at least, because that was the time where a lot of things on the emotional side, on the business side, and so on and so forth happened. So that just, at the same time, I do calisthenics since 2018, and now I'm on track to learning a clean one-arm handstand. I have a web-free software agency after failing 3 startups. Um, so I would dare to say that I work quite a lot, and which is not a positive thing per se for some people. It always depends on what kind of life you want, right? But those are already 3 things that are require a lot of discipline, right? Right now, for example, which is the first time ever, I'm completely, also really healthy, also eating almost only healthy stuff. I've never eaten so healthy like I do now. And for a long time, I wasn't able to do that as well. Um, Even during my peak bodybuilding stage, like in 2018, um, I I ate a lot of healthy stuff, a lot of protein, but I still ate like if I had one of my sugar cravings, like 1 bag of chips, 1 bag of gummies, gummy bears, whatever, right? That gummy stuff, and one chocolate thing, right? Is it 6 chocolate bombs or full chocolate, whatever, right? I have no idea why I'm missing English words right now, just because maybe I never talk about food in English for whatever reason. So, but also that now is not an issue to me anymore. So let me just share a couple of things that work for me really well. And since I'm not 20 steps ahead of you, just a couple of steps, maybe a few things here might be more realistic for you than if listening to some of those hyper disciplined and successful people, uh, because there's a much bigger difference to where you are or where I am and where those people are, right? If you're talking about the Olympic, as a sport person that is participating in Olympic competitions or whatever, right? They have a completely different life and different values and goals. So let's get to the topic itself. What I do, or there are basically 2 things that help me really well. One thing is more kind of a recent thing, which helped me, for example, now completely avoiding all my sugar cravings. I don't have them anymore, basically. It's the first time ever in my whole life. And that thing is identity shifting, which means if you commit to something or want to do something, let's say a standard thing is I want to start going to the gym, right? It's a simple commitment. Let's say it that way, right? You want to go to the gym. So let's think about for a second, if someone asks you, are you sporty? Are you going to the gym regularly, in February, for example? What are you going to answer? Many people might then say, well, uh, because I know that from myself by experience, you either say, yeah, in the last couple of months I'm doing that, or yeah, I'm kind of having a rough time right now. It's not because I'm right now going everything I can or whatever, right? It's always like if you have to tell someone what you do and basically who you are, you might see like how you actually what kind of identity you have assigned to yourself. For example, if you would have asked me 1 year ago if I'm a sporty person or going to the gym a lot, uh, I used to say yes because I went to the gym 4 to 5 times a week, right? And I really tried to gain a lot of muscle mass, and my whole life was kind of lifestyle was associated attached to it. As many years ago. Um, but when that wasn't the case, right? I actually the only reason when I had that tendency to say that is because I used to be that kind of person, but at that time I wasn't. Right? So it's kind of an identity change I had, a negative identity change, which now happened again. Right? Since December, I'm actually again full into bodybuilding, bodybuilding, going to the gym again, and now you see that identity again. I don't identify myself as a bodybuilder right now. I used to in 2018, 17, and before because my goal was to gain muscle mass. Now my goal is to be very sporty, to be way above average, to be super healthy, and just to feel good. Right? That's my goal right now. So I don't identify as a bodybuilder, but still I identify as all these other things. And that identity then forces me subconsciously to adhere to that identity. If I say I'm a sporty person, I actually need to match that, right? My own expectations. It sounds a little bit, also it may be a little bit difficult to understand, but let me give you a better metaphor maybe. Um, yeah, I think the best example is always like when someone, a stranger, asks you what kind of person you are, or if you just have to explain yourself, you usually quickly discover what feels right to you, right? Now it feels right for me again that I'm a sporty person. 1 year ago, no. 5 years ago, yes, right? So that's kind of the shift that happens in your mind, and then your behavior follows. For example, what I did in December, because you know, I used to have much more muscle mass than I do now, right? Um, and I just didn't feel good. So I did that identity shift again. I said, okay, fuck it. I don't want to have that anymore, that bad feeling, right? And because I used to really enjoy when people said, oh, wow, you really gained muscles. Or, hey, wow, are you some kind of professional sports person or whatever, right? And now people are asking me that again, right? Today in the gym, two people like a former professional bodybuilder and a random stranger. Uh, One said, "Are you a professional? What's the English word? Because I did calisthenics, handstands, and whatever, all these kind of things. Um, acrobat. If I do acrobatics or something like that, or if I'm a gymnasiast, oh my gosh, what's going on with my English today? And the former professional bodybuilder acknowledged that I really gained a lot of muscle mass. And the funny thing is, of course, muscle memory, I used to have much more, so it goes faster again. Uh, Said also, hey, you're you really made some serious progress, and he knows me from my bodybuilding times. So I didn't wave myself, but since my bodybuilding times. But so I don't know if I actually made some progress or if it's just his perception. But basically, just what I want to share it with you is I had an identity change again in December for going to the gym, doing calisthenics, and also I never stopped that, right? I just didn't take it seriously. That's that was the issue. And also that I don't need to eat sugar, that I don't need chips, that I don't need to eat like these things, like I really ate one chocolate bar, one bag of chips, one bag of uh, sweets in the same night at minimum. That was my minimum amount of unhealthy stuff that I ate if I had sugar cravings, which happened 2 to 3 times a week. Oh my gosh, that's a lot, right? And of course, I felt like shit. And this is the first time in December I really, also I said during bodybuilding times, I ate healthy, but I still did that, right? I still had a six pack and all that kind of stuff because I did so much on the good side. But now I don't do the bad stuff as well, right? And that was only possible um, because I made that identity shift. Because I said I don't need that because also I don't need that. And now I also with confidence can say to people, I eat healthy. That is an identity shift that occurred within me. And that's just what I want to leave you here. That's the first part. Try to make an identity shift. It's super difficult because you have to believe it. And how you do that is you create enough evidence for yourself that you're that kind of person. And I ate really that amount of sweets, sugar, like my whole life, like since I'm old enough to get enough because I can pay for it, right? And I basically had to, as I really struggled for a couple of weeks, and also the pain of staying the same was quite high for me, right? So that's the initial thing. But if you go through that and you tell yourself all the time, I don't need that, I don't need it, and you stick to it and you get that, you gain that proof, that chain of proof for yourself, you actually don't need it anymore, right? And that's the first big thing that helps me to stay committed to the behavior I want, to the goals I want. And the other strategy that I did for my, also since I would say 15, I think that's when I started going to the gym. Um, I started with the gym. My dad used to be a professional bodybuilder, so I was in that bodybuilding community somehow, right? That's where a lot of people kind of mentored me as well at that time. It was a really cool time. I even considered the gym being my second family, right? The people I met there, it was really a cool time. But at some point, you hit a plateau, right? Because I never took stuff aside from creatine, a lot of supplements. I did really a lot on that front, but health was always one of the main things I don't want to sacrifice, right? Because I always had that long-term thought in mind, like what if I'm 40, 50, and then that shit bites me back, right? And it also always felt a little bit like cheating, especially if you do it from the start, right? Which is the wrong approach anyway, because you should build a foundation first. But what I want to say is, I hit a plateau at some point, right? I achieved my goals basically, which was I want to gain respect from my peers because I used to get bullied at high school because I used to be really thin and I'm not the tallest guy as well. Um, so I achieved my goal and I hit a plateau sports wise as well because I wasn't taking anything chemical or on that front. So what now, right? Your that's kind of the mentality. For example, I had heard Dwayne Johnson, also The Rock, also talking about where you say, I'm, also, how do you stay on the top? Right? There's some kind of a motivational talk out there. How do you stay on the top? You always fight, you are your own competition, right? You fight with yourself. And even then, when you hit your own plateau, um, that's not the best, the frame that pushes you forward, right? It's a very strong and useful frame in general, especially if you're above average in many areas of your life. Then you need to start comparing you with yourself. Otherwise, you get, I think, complacent is the right word, right? You get lazy because you are, in fact, far ahead of people. But when you hit the plateau, and then you need a reason to keep going, right? Because you don't see progress anymore, don't see much value, especially if you know you're kind of on the limit. I wouldn't say what's possible on the natural front, but I just want to, give you an idea of what my thoughts at that time were. And what I did then is I chose another thing, another sport that related, that was helpful to bodybuilding, which for me is calisthenics. Basically, everything doing with your own body weight, balance, stretching, things like I actually neglected. Right? Another thing for someone else could be endurance sport like bicycle, running, whatever, if you like that. Um, I chose calisthenics as my goal. Basically, I wanted to learn the handstand at that time. I wanted to do one arm push ups. I wanted to do XYZ, right? And that was a really cool time then again because I had two sports. I did calisthenics like 30 minutes for the warm up or 1 hour, whatever, right? Or after the workout, depending on when you asked me. And I always made progress in either sport, right? I either gained muscle mass or lost fat or whatever, or got stronger. Or on the calisthenics front, oh, now I suddenly can do the handstand, or now I can do a lot of one arm push ups, or now I can do the back lever, right? Where you hang on the, yesterday, where you're basically just flying. I think you know that position. The front lever where you're on the, what is this called? The metal thing. Come on. But basically, I had two sports where I made progress, right? When I was stagnant in one of them, I wasn't on the other usually. And that was a really cool thing, right? Even when I was injured with my ankles, for example, from the handstand in the beginning, because it was really weak on that front, or I did some stupid exercises like trying to learn the handstand on fingertips. I wouldn't recommend that one. It's not as difficult as it sounds, but if you fall, you really hurt your ankles. And for 6 months, I wasn't really able to do a lot of handstand and these kind of things that put a lot of pressure on here. But still, I was able to do a lot of lightweight bodybuilding, which is also great for muscle mind connection and make progress there. So that's kind of the second point that helps me a lot to stay focused on my goals, to find related things that push you forward, right? Basically just finding more things that are similar and then following through that, right? Um, Business is, so I wouldn't say it's similar, right? Because it's not a sport, but in some instance, it actually, um, I wouldn't say it's similar, but it has a really interesting, I have a really interesting theory around, what's a theory? What I'm saying today. Basically, if you're able to push forward in sports, right? bodybuilding is really a great example here, strength training, where the weight is getting so heavy and you can't do one more, but you still do, right? And that strengthens your mindset. Your let's push through this. Let's push through this. Let's do this, right? And if you do this, then also if you can transfer that skill, that mindset, that that strength that you have within you to business, that's a really cool thing, right? Example was last year when I had to when I had a really difficult bleeding edge software as a software I had to build for a client, and for the first time ever, I really uh, got to the boundaries of my skills, right? Because it was really bleeding edge, so there is no person on earth that you actually, in that sense, could have asked for, right? Because you're combining a set of technologies, and everybody's just maybe expert on that technology, but you know, nobody is being able. At least I didn't have access to that person to combine these things, right? So for a few months, I really struggled with this, and at some point, I thought, "Fuck, I can't, right? I'm not able to do that." And then I remembered there was one day where I said, "Fuck, I really have no other choice. I need to, because I need to do that." And I think it wasn't that day, but at least the next day, I finally got through. So I made the first step towards realizing the feature that we had to build. And it is a great example of the quote from Alex Hormozy, not doing what the best you can, but doing what's required. That is really the best example from my own personal life that I have. When you really think you can't, even if you put a lot of discipline, effort, time, energy into it, and you really, after months of trying, come to the conclusion you just can't, and you then still do. It's really a perfect example for that. But those are the two big things I just want to leave you with today. Um, Basically, having different things that you want to work on. If something like business, for example, is stagnating, but I make progress on the bodybuilding or calisthenics front, I'm happy, right? Because you then have multiple sources where you can pull energy for yourself, right, for your own well-being. Of course, this also works with relationships, family, whatever your goal is, your values are, right? And yeah, that's the second one. And I'm pretty sure once I stop, I'll click stop, I remember. So yeah, for each case, thank you for watching. I hope this video brought you some value. And if I can ask you for one favor, please hit subscribe on that channel. It really helps us more than you can imagine. And yeah, thank you for watching.
Wavect, the web-free software company that understands what you want.